There are up to 1,200 U.S. missiles aimed directly at Venezuela. This statement by President Nicolas Maduro has shocked international public opinion. For a South American country famous for its oil, football, and fiery salsa dances, suddenly becoming the focus of strategic confrontation between the U.S. and Russia makes Venezuela like a spicy hot pot boiling on the world political map. This story is not simply about the U.S. and Venezuela fighting each other. It is also linked to the global geopolitical competition, where Washington does not want Caracas to become Moscow's backyard, and where Russia is not afraid to use Venezuela as a strategic counterweight in the Western Hemisphere. In this analysis, we will find out the reason why Venezuela has become the target of 1,200 U.S. missiles. Defense map and force deployment. Is the number given by Mr. Maduro really trustworthy? Global implications and consequences, from South America to Europe, Asia, and even Vietnam. And of course, I will add some humorous illustrations so that you are not suffocated by a series of military terms. Chapter 1. Venezuela. Why is it the center of the missile storm? 1. Oil. The core cause. Venezuela owns the largest oil reserves in the world, surpassing even Saudi Arabia. For the U.S., a country that always needs a huge source of energy to maintain its economy, letting Russia or China indirectly control Venezuela's oil is unacceptable. For example, if we compare Venezuela's oil to a pot of rare beef noodle soup with onions filling the bowl, then the U.S. certainly does not want Russia to hold the chopsticks and China to hold the spoon. Washington wants to keep the spoon for itself. 2. Confrontational politics. Since the time of the late President Hugo Chavez, Venezuela has become the nemesis of the United States in the Western Hemisphere. Chavez has repeatedly publicly cursed the United States and the United Nations, and Maduro, his successor, continues his fierce anti-Washington policy. This has led the United States to view Venezuela as a rebel in its backyard. And traditionally, the United States does not like any Latin American country that dares to challenge it. 4. Military context. According to some sources, the United States has deployed naval and air forces in the Caribbean while strengthening its base in Colombia, a neighboring country of Venezuela and a close ally of Washington. This could be the basis for Mr. Maduro's claim that 1,200 U.S. missiles are aimed at his country. Chapter 2. 1,200 missiles. What is the truth? 1. Where does the number 1,200 come from? Possibility 1. This is Maduro's way of exaggerating to stir up nationalist sentiment, showing that the country is under mortal threat. Possibility 2. This number is based on the total number of cruise and ballistic missiles that the U.S. can deploy from bases near Venezuela. Illustrative example of a defense map. Colombia. The U.S. has a military agreement allowing the deployment of radars, surveillance aircraft, and even missiles. Puerto Rico, U.S. territory, home to air and naval bases. Fourth Fleet operates in the Caribbean, ready to launch Tomahawk missiles from submarines and destroyers. If we count the total number of Tomahawk cruise missiles, missiles on F-35s, F-16s, and Patriot launchers located at nearby bases, the number of 1,200 is not impossible. 2. What does Venezuela have to counter? S-300 air defense missiles provided by Russia, enough to protect some key cities, but difficult to cover the entire territory. Su-30 Mk2 aircraft, quite modern, but small in number, difficult to compete with the U.S. Air Force. Domestic surface-to-surface missiles, limited in both range and accuracy. In other words, if the U.S. really deploys 1,200 missiles, Venezuela will hardly be able to resist for a long time. 4. A little humor. If 1,200 U.S. missiles are really aimed at Venezuela, the country's defense map seen from above will look like a pizza cut with 1,200 knives. The only problem is when the oven will turn on. 3. Consequences and global implications. 2. With Venezuela. Risk of deeper isolation if tensions with the U.S. continue. But at the same time, this confrontation also unites the people, at least in the short term. 3. With Russia and China. Russia sees this as an opportunity to expand its influence in the Western Hemisphere as a way to retaliate against the US and Ukraine. China is very interested in Venezuelan oil, so also wants Caracas to stand firm. 4. For South America and the world, South American countries are worried about being drawn into conflict. The international oil market is always hot whenever there is a new tension. 5. Humorous connection. If this crisis were made into a Hollywood movie, the most appropriate title would probably be 1,200 Reasons to Worry. And certainly, the main character would not lack scenes of salsa dancing and, well, dodging missiles. Conclusion. President Nicolas Maduro's statement that 1,200 US missiles are aimed at Venezuela is not just a simple political statement. It reflects a reality. Venezuela has become a hotspot in the global geopolitical competition where the US, Russia, and China all have vital interests. While the 1,200 figure may be an exaggeration, the message is clear. Caracas feels surrounded and is ready to do whatever it takes to survive. In a world of tension over Ukraine, the South China Sea, and Taiwan, Venezuela is a secondary front that could explode at any moment. And, as always, I want to send a message to you, the History and War audience. If you find this analysis useful and interesting, please like, share, and subscribe so we can continue to bring you the hottest stories from history, war, and global geopolitics.